Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Good morning. A timely message today. I hope it helps you as much as it helps me. It's interesting because in this work, many times my revelations, ahas, epiphanies are coaching elements that I use on my clients, but also I'm almost coaching myself sometimes too. And that comes from a very good place of self-compassion and humility. And so lately, I have been throwing out boundaries like it's candy on Halloween, which is an amazing and empowering thing for sure. And I want you to get there as well. So I just want to say that. And I have some thoughts, which is why I'm here. So if you kind of grew up or you're at the point now where you're noticing a few things, like it's hard maybe to make boundaries and have a firm stance, a firm, loving, compassionate stance with who you are, what you want to do, what you want to spend your time and energy on, who you want surrounding you. And then second with that is sticking with them. Because it gets hard. Because if you're like me, you may have people around you that are used to you not having these boundaries. It could be anything. Like, if you've been following me for a little bit, you know that when I talk about relationships, I talk about like relationship with self, relationship with romantic partner or potential romantic partner, relationship with friends, relationship with work, relationship with money, relationship with job, because those are different energies, right? We're the same person, but there are different energies that we bring to the table. The hard thing that when it comes to the boundaries piece is that likely, especially when you're in transition and learning this new skill and really putting it out there, the people around you are going to have a hard time with it. The different energies, job may have a hard time. Your relationship with your partner or family. So I just kind of want to put that out there, and if that's where you are, I see you and I understand you. Another thing that may come up for you is, and this is what I'm hoping to talk about today or whatever comes up, but if the difference between being selfish with the decisions that you're making and being self-honoring. And this gets a little tricky, and I hope that I'm able to kind of explain where my heart is coming from with this. So, if in the past you've been a people pleaser, or it's been hard to set boundaries, or hard to make decisions, lost your intuition, this is, making decisions and making boundaries is a new skill that you may have to learn. For me, there's a lot of things that I didn't learn. I didn't learn how to be emotionally mature. Therefore, I wasn't able to tap into my feelings, what my desires are, making sure that they were mine and not society's or someone else's. I was really good at quote unquote going with the flow, which is amazing in some ways, but in other ways it wasn't, because there wasn't really a chance that I got to make a decision for myself. I was kind of in that environment when I was younger, which was like jump, and I'm supposed to ask how high without asking like, is this really for me? And that was like a pattern that happened over time that caught up with me here in my adulthood. And what I've learned today in healing is that you can feel a difference between what is being selfish and what is self-honoring. Selfish for me feels like a lot of judgment. It feels like a lot of anxiety and overwhelm for me. Like I feel it in like an ache in my chest, or maybe like a pit in my stomach sometimes. And normally that is just an emotional pattern, an emotional wound that you maybe have been punished in the past for being quote unquote selfish, which is really just speaking your truth and, having a voice and saying what you want and what you don't want. So I think that's what happened to me, and it happens to a lot of us, especially as women. And the hard thing is when other people in your life, if you do start to, flex this muscle and learn this skill, is that other people in our life, job, work, family, again, whatever it is that's the highest pain point for you right now, it's hard for them to accept. So they call you selfish. And then you start to think that you are. And then you start to blame and judge and shame yourself. And that is such an insidious cycle. Because in reality and healing and in real true love with yourself, with others that love you and see you for who you are, and that is the biggest asterisk that I can put in here when we're talking about this in particular in this container, is that you should be able to express yourself in any way, as long as it's coming from a place of self-love and self-compassion. And that's what I feel like, I hope I explained that well, but that is what I feel like is the difference between being selfish and self-honoring. If you're being selfish, it's not a judgment that you're placing on yourself, although I feel like it does go down that spiral of shame and blame. It's more of a judgment and hey, if this is happening, message me. It's more of a judgment that's put on you by other people who really aren't there for your growth, who aren't there for your next evolution, who aren't there for your self-love and self-development. And this is something that, is very close to me right now. So I feel this so deeply. And let me just say that you may not always know the difference, especially as you're learning this. And, if this is a skill that you want to learn, I'm open again to a message. But what I'm saying is that you don't, especially if you've been in this pattern for a long time of people pleasing and, what we were talking about before, is that sometimes you don't know what is selfish or what is self-honoring. But the more that you learn about yourself, the more that you come back to yourself, you can really dictate your life and the way that you're expressing yourself, the way that that you're giving your energies, and it all, if it's coming from a place of self-love, that is self-honoring. I understand how it, like, sometimes it doesn't make sense, and sometimes it's not black and white. In fact, it's not always black and white. Sometimes our brain, because we've been in so much of these patterns before, our brains really want it to be black and white to make it easy, and that's familiar. But let me just say that if you're not sure if what you're doing is selfish or self-honoring, I just want to say, be kind to yourself. And if you're kind to yourself, and self-honoring for me feels right, it feels very in line with my heart. And if you don't know what that is, I would work on getting back in touch with your heart and your soul, so that your brain, your body, your mind, and your soul can really all come online. And then what happens is, and this is kind of, this is a longer process, but then what happens is that all of your decisions become self-honoring, because they are coming from a place of alignment and self-love. And then it doesn't matter who, what negative energy in your life is telling you that you're selfish, because you know that that shit is not yours, it's theirs. And you know it feels right. You know the self-honoring choice feels right when you feel calm, when you feel connected, when you feel at peace, when you aren't in that anxiety or overwhelm mode, and when you are not down and depressed for days or weeks. So if this is a pattern that you're seeing, I would welcome a message to help you break that pattern, because the shit on the self-honoring side is gorgeous. Just like you. It's beautiful and serene and pure, and everyone deserves this. You just have to learn a new skill. I hope that helps today. And big love.